Charles Manson died. He was my prison husband. I'm kidding.
Charles Manson died?
Charles Manson's dead.
Oh, Charles Manson died of the Manson family.
Correct.
For those of you in our audience who are too young to remember, Charles
We're
Manson...
too young to remember.
I know.
Okay.
They don't know that. Charles Manson,
Yeah.
cult leader-esque, started a little family, and they went around murdering.
Yeah.
Condolences to his wife, Marilyn. Yeah.
All right.
La 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 la. Here we go. It's the Bible reloaded, logic explosion, like Jesus and Moses, but it's Hugo and Jake. The Bible is jaded, and most of it taken, so get educated with Hugo and Jake. Pull up a pew and stop what you're doing. It's Bible reloaded time. They call it debated, the theist will hate it. I'm talking to taken, but it's Hugo and Jake. So I'm with the show then, it's not getting coded. It's the Bible reloaded with Hugo and Jake. With Hugo and Jake.
Hello, everyone! I'm Hugo.
Jay.
And this is the Bible Reloaded. Welcome back. We're gonna today do all of Lamentations.
Lamentations!
For those of you who don't get the reference,
You should watch Conan. Not the redhead.
no.
The barbarian. Or the destroyer.
Oh man, now I want to see Conan the Barbarian, but it's Conan O'Brien.
That's already got to be a thing on the internet.
It probably
That's
is.
got to be a thing.
He probably did that in the 90s. Anyway, today we're going to be looking at Lamentations, and essentially what Lamentations is, after the fall of Jerusalem, it's, for those of you who don't know what a lamentation is, it's essentially a cry of, like...
Sadness and
Sadness.
morose and melancholy. And these are, I think there's five poems in here. And they all describe kind of the fall from different perspectives. The first two, I believe, are female. The last three are from a male perspective.
We'll talk about stuff.
A lot of people ascribe this to Jeremiah. That's probably wrong. Scholars say it's probably wrong. I just want you to know that. I don't know why. I didn't research a lot. I just was looking. I looked up who the author was, and they said, well, it's up in the air. And mostly, surprisingly, it's because of the genders of those and the time scale to which those were written. Because it would have to take after the fall and everything, and kind of look back on it. So, yeah. So this is the sad part.
Yeah. So let's get through Lamentations, chapter 1. How deserted lies the city, once so full of people, like a widow is she, who once was great amongst the nations, she was a queen amongst the provinces, now has become a slave. Bitterly she weeps at night, tears on her cheeks. Among all her lovers, there is no one to comfort her. All her friends have betrayed her, and they have become her enemies. After afflictions and harsh labor, Judah has gone into exile. She dwells amongst the nations. She finds no resting place. All who pursue her have overtaken her in the midst of her distress.
Wow.
Then chapter 1 continues on. For all this...
Yeah.
Just describing bad stuff, and let me give you a little taste.
Wow, this is like a Bon Iver song.
Yeah.
I already want to kind of off myself.
It just goes, all her gateways are desolate, all her foes have become her masters, all her splendors has departed. You know, you get it. It just goes on like that. So then in chapter 2, sorry, this is how this one works out.
Yeah.
Continues, though slightly different. How the Lord has covered daughter Zion with the cloud of his anger. He has hurled down the splendor of Israel from heaven to earth. He has not remembered his footstool in the days of his anger.
Footstool.
Footstool! And in this context, they're not even using footstool as like a disparaging. He's saying he's forgotten his footstool. So that means on a good day for God, his chosen people are a footstool in his head.
Why does God need a footstool? It interests me that there's, like, in God's house, because he designed everything, he's still got places he can't just reach without one.
You just gotta kick your feet up every now and again.
Oh, so it's more of a loungy footstool than, like, a stool that you would...
Yeah, I'm not assuming he's using them for utility. I assume this is God kicking back with a nice aged cognac, smokes a Cuban cigar,
This implies he can get tired feet now. All of this is problematic for me.
Then we're gonna skip some of 2 because it's going just, blah, blah, blah. God did bad stuff to you. Lord rejected his altar. Lord determined to tear it down. Stuff like that. But then we're gonna pick back up in verse 20. Look, Lord, and consider. Whom have you ever treated like this? Should women eat their offspring? Should priests and prophets be killed in the sanctity of the Lord? So now they're saying, things have gotten real bad, God, now that you've destroyed Jerusalem. Women are having to eat their babies. Priests are being slaughtered in their old temples.
How bad does it have to get for you to be like, I guess I'm gonna eat baby?
Ask the Donner Party.
Did they eat babies first? Was that the first to go, was the babies?
No.
Can't be.
I don't even remember if there were babies in the Donner Party. I'd hope not. That journey takes long enough where you should know not to fuck on the way to California.
Wow. I figured maybe they had a baby and then got lost. Not they, actually had a baby. Wow. Okay.
It's that gold rush fever. Gets your loins a-burning.
That's that's the only way I can get off, too.
Sometimes the gold fever gets confused for syphilis.
I have to drink a 5th of gold schlaga before this thing will even move.
That might be...
And you have to say gold schlaga, too.
Okay, that's a psychological...
Yeah, it's actually... I'm more Pavloved by it than actually affected, I think.
I was just going to say, I think you have a German fetish.
I do like shit.
Young and old lie together in the dust in the streets. My young men and young women have fallen by the sword. You have slain them in the day of your anger. You have slaughtered them without pity. And you summoned to a feast day, so you summoned against me terrors on every side. In the day the Lord's anger, no one escaped or survived. Those I cared for and reared, my enemy has destroyed. That's the end of chapter 2. Nice positive note to end on there.
So, I also know that Lamentations is a book that maybe the writings are considering maybe God has abandoned us. It's like Twitter.
The end of the Old Testament gets super depressing.
Yeah.
You see why a reform sect came along and started Christianity, because they really start getting just Oh
yeah, by the way, we're under 100 pages away, and we're going through 5 today. So
yeah.
Not far off. So that's why we're kind of rounding out. Before they were like, oh, God's glorious, and he gives us, fucking apples and shit, and it's really great, and no more Egypt, and then they're like, oh, being on our own is tough. Wow, what a bummer. It's kind of like when you move out, you're like, I can't wait to grow up, and then, you have to work your shitty job, and then you have to pay your shitty rent in your shitty apartment, and then you have, shitty roommates, and you have to eat shitty food, and that goes until you're, almost 30, usually. And then finally life starts to kick in, and then you get diabetes and die.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, that's pretty much how life is. So life is pain. Drink it away.
Okay, chapter 3. This is interesting because this is a poem. This is actually what's called an acrostic poem. Do you know what an acrostic poem is, Jake?
No, Hugo. What's an acrostic poem?
An acrostic poem is one of these. An acrostic poem is...
I don't see that. That's in post.
Yeah.
That's not for me. It helps me zero.
Okay. An acrostic poem is a poem where the beginning of each line, when it goes down, essentially you can read out a word. So,
that's cool.
The first letter.
I guess I knew those existed, but not the word.
Yeah.
We all learned something.
Acrostic poem.
Nice.
And this entire chapter is actually in the original Hebrew, obviously, an acrostic poem on 2 fronts. Firstly, the beginning of each stanza has a letter of the alphabet in alphabetical order, and then within each stanza, the beginning letter of each line is the same letter.
So what does
Hebrew.
it say? Because I don't know what it says. Does it say something?
It essentially, it's a person describing all the things that have happened to them. It's just all the specific things. They say he has pierced my heart with arrows from his quiver. They just describe things God has done, but as the poem goes on, it maybe goes to, well, maybe there was a reason God did this. Maybe it's a chance for those exiled to build something new.
So it has to be successive letters for it to be acrostic. So it'd be
it doesn't have to be. An acrostic poem is anything that spells out anything. It just so happens that in this case, an acrostic poem, the thing that it is making it acrostic is it's alphabetical.
Oh. I see. So it could be A, B, C, D, E,
right.
Or it could be
a word.
D-I-C-K for our acrostic poem.
But then generally you would want, for instance, usually you would have a theme running through it. Like if you wrote a poem about fire and each line began with the letters that spelled out fire, that's a typical acrostic
Wow.
poem. It gets,
That's edgy as fuck.
No, that's just a simple example.
Oh, man. Wow. Yeah, we should. Yep. Okay. Well, I can tell you one thing that this is going to do. This is going to get us a ton of likes and reblogs.
Anyway, chapter 4. How the gold has lost its luster. The fine gold becomes dull. The sacred gems are scattered at every street corner. How the precious children of Zion, once worth their weight in gold, are now considered as pots of clay, the work on a potter's hands. Even jackals offer their beasts to nurse their young. But my people have become heartless like ostriches in the desert.
Heartless ostriches? Is there do ostriches have like a dark past that we're unaware of? Like the prequel to Ostriches was like they're all fucked up.
You may not believe this. I have something prepared for this.
What?
I knew we were going to stop on ostriches because it stands out so much. I had to look this up as well.
Wow, you actually wrote a note. I can't read it from here, but yeah.
Okay. So this is saying because culturally, for some reason, they would have considered ostrich. I don't know why. Culturally,
I get the dogs thing.
Ostriches they would have considered negligent to their children.
Ostriches?
However,
were ostriches local? What?
Anyway, ostriches are actually known for being very good parents in that the male will, it's not just like I'm gonna fuck this lady ostrich and fuck off. No, he actually then builds the nest, and then they take turns. Incubating it.
They
co-parent. So actually, parenting in the ostrich world...
Better than I experienced. I'm just kidding. My childhood was fine.
It's just a funny metaphor that...
Doesn't make sense?
It doesn't make sense if you actually know the real way they work.
Are ostriches native to that? I guess I always assumed they were Australian in nature.
No, ostriches are not Australian. Is it because they both kind of have an aw in the
word? What am I thinking of? What's the big tall... Is it emu?
Emu? Are you thinking
Are emus only in Australia? My tall birds are all mixed up. Tall birds.
If you want to unsubscribe now, this is unacceptable.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry my tall bird knowledge was why you subscribed in the first place.
Yeah, this is ridiculous.
And I have just, I've thrown all that out the window. I'm sorry for your loss.
And then, it goes on. Because of the thirst, the infant's tongue sticks to the roof of its mouth. Oh. The children's beg for bread, but no one gives it to them. Those who once ate delicacies are destitute in the streets. Those brought up in royal purple now lie in ash heaps.
Hey, they got something right. Royal purple was actually a very expensive dye, so we did it.
The punishment of my people is greater than that of Sodom, which was overthrown in a moment without a hand turned to help her.
Okay, you get to use that as ammunition from now on.
If
anyone says being gay is the worst thing, like, because they always say, well, God didn't destroy any other city, like he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Nah, dude, he literally destroyed the Jews. Like, because they were worse. It says it. Bring up Lamentations. What verse? What? 4 something?
Lamentations chapter 4, verse 6.
There you go.
Their princes were brighter than snow and whiter than milk. Their bodies more ruddy than rubies. Their appearance like lapis lazuli. But now they are blacker than soot. They are not recognized in the streets. Their skin has shriveled on the bones. It has become as dry as a stick.
So once they were supple white men, and now they are ashy black ones. That is what they just said.
I don't think
That's exactly what they just said. Bible equals racist. Or is it just me?
It's just
No, it's not.
Okay.
You're crazy. My best friend's black.
Those killed by the sword are better off than those who die of famine. Racked with hunger, they waste away for lack of food in the field. With their own hands, compassionate women have cooked their own children, who became their food when my people were destroyed.
The baby cannibalism thing.
They brought it up 3 times, which means...
It had to have happened.
It must have happened very specifically.
If this is a historical account, people ate their babies and God caused it.
Yep.
Okay.
Were you expecting more? No,
okay, you can't... The atheists eat babies thing just out the window, though. We don't get to have that anymore.
No, we have the option of doing it and not being seen as lessers.
That's fair.
Chapter 5. Remember, Lord, what has happened to us? Look and see our disgrace. Our inheritance has been turned over to strangers, our homes to foreigners. We have become fatherless. Our mothers are widows. We must buy the water we drink. Our wood can be had only at a price. Those who pursue us are at our heels. We are weary and find no rest. We submitted to Egypt and Assyria to get enough bread. Our ancestors sinned and are no more. We bear their punishment. Slaves rule over us, and there is no one to free us from their hands.
How do you feel bad for those people? How do you go, oh, the slaves are in charge now. We can't, we're the slave. Yeah, okay. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I don't feel as bad when you're designating others as slaves, and you're not like, just freedom, you're like, we should be in charge of them, right?
Oh, I totally guarantee this got brought up during the Civil War as well.
Oh,
There's no way some propaganda didn't happen with this line.
Yeah. We get our bread at the risk of our lives because of the sword in the desert. Our skin is as hot as an oven, feverish from hunger. Women have been violated in Zion, and virgins in the town of Judah. Princes have been hung up by their hands, elders are shown no respect. Young men toil at the millstones, boys stagger under loads of wood. The elders are gone from the city gate, the young men have stopped their music. Joy is gone from our hearts, our dancing has turned to mourning. The crown has fallen from our head. Woe to us, for we have sinned. Because of this, our hearts are faint. Because of these things, our eyes grow dim from Mount Zion, which lies desolate, with jackals prowling over it. Your Lord, reign forever. Your throne endures from generation to generation. Why do you always forget us? Restore us to yourself, Lord, that we may return. Renew our days of old. Unless you have utterly rejected us and are angry with us beyond measure. So this is the exiles who have left Jerusalem and gone to the other neighboring nations and dispersed. Ooh, you knocked the camera.
Oh, God.
And this is them saying, okay, but no one is alive anymore who was doing that shit. Please forgive us for the sins of the father.
That can't be true. That no one's alive still.
But anyway, next time we'll see how that goes in Ezekiel. So.
I don't know if I'm excited for Ezekiel. If this is just... Is it going to be just as depressing?
It's another prophet who comes and he's like, hey, things aren't going to be so bad, guys. Here's what we can do to be better.
When do we get to the whale guy?
Jonah.
I know his name.
Excuse
if
me.
I sound aloof, it's cool.
Excuse me. He was actually swallowed by a giant fish. It was not a mammal.
Yeah, you're spoilers. Spoilers for Jonah. It's very near the end. Anyway, that's a good-ass story. It's a conversion story.
Yeah.
He goes and he has to convert people. Not about the fucking fish at all.
Anyway, that's the end of the episode.
Wow, we spiked that Bible.
Yeah.
Nice.
You can always follow us on Twitter at Bible Reloaded.
You follow Hugo Reloaded. You can also subscribe to the channel and get some things like videos. Actually, that's the only product we offer when you subscribe.
You can also donate to our Patreon campaign. We do a once-a-month patron-only hangout, which we should do soon, but
yeah, probably after the holiday.
After Thanksgiving.
Yep.
We'll see.
It'll be fun.
Woo! So until next time, I'm Hugo.
And I'm Jake. And Friday, we're going to have a kickin' movie review. Kickin'. Roundhouse Kick movie review. It's got Chuck Norris in it.
More importantly, it's got his son, Mike Norris.
God damn it, it's got Mike fucking Norris.
Stay tuned.
You're welcome.